Why buy your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City?
Great service from 3 locations: Community in Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
Because nobody beats a community deal, nobody.
Last year, if you recall, we were going to have an increase in taxes based on the amount of debt, and I believe it was somewhere around the $5 to $6 range. I know we had a long discussion last year on that, Scott, you and I did, on where it would be if we did some certain things. What actually happened is our valuation came in better than anticipated. So, that being said, we are actually reducing our debt service levy from 311 down to 286. That is going to be the actual number for the fiscal year 14. So that means that we have the ability to reduce the levy. Now, when we get to the operating, I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the operating side in a couple weeks. But we had an increase in rollback, which kind of ate some of this up, and Brett and I are kind of working on that. But I just want you to know that at this point in time, the debt service levy has decreased for the next fiscal year, so you see a decrease in the taxes on the debt service side. I'm not going to go and list them all, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the ones that we've kind of highlighted. I put a couple of bullets over here on the side. Included in the general projects budget is a needs assessment for the police building. If the assessment shows the need for a new building, this project would be pulled. If it shows the building is okay but needs the HVAC replaced, it will stay in the budget for geo bonding. That was the information I kind of wanted to include in there so you guys understand what was going on. Again, Brent stated that with the new assessment, we need an additional $5,000, but we are working towards finding that $5,000 in the operating side instead of having to take it out of somewhere else. There are also projects that the managers turned in. We wanted to keep on the sheet so you could see those projects. But they are projects that both Brent and I looked at and felt that they don't necessarily need to be completed this year. They can be moved out to a few future years. And the final thing I put on here is every $100,000 worth of bonding, and this is based on next year's debt schedule or debt assessment. If we issue $100,000 worth of bonding, it's going to increase the debt service levy by 1 cent. The projects we looked at for consideration, say now we can move them out to the next year, are the concrete paving for the driveway for the fire department, the entrance sign for the museum, and a pickup and columbarium improvements for the cemetery. So those are projects that I left in, but we feel that could probably be moved to a future year. We're going to have to issue bonds in this particular area to do all these projects. That being said, if we issue bonds, we'd be looking at a monthly increase of about $1.17 for the average homeowner, and that average homeowner, somebody uses about 500 cubic feet of water. Now that's going to vary based on the amount of water you use, but our average is about 500. I might use 300, Brent might use 800, so we have an average of 500 between the two of us. But as we look throughout the entire system, that's what our average is. We would not need any increase in the operating side because our operating side is looking good, but we need the 4.81% increase in debt, which amounts to $1.17.
Mr. Shaky. Well, the main one that I see on here, and I know it's been discussed for 5-6 years, is the compensation study. That's the only one that I could see that I'd be. And here's the good and the bad of it. The good of it is we're talking about public employees, so everybody's wages are made public, and so that can be bad as well for everybody. But why would we? Here's my thinking. Instead of spending $45,000 on a compensation study, can't we go to cities that are similar or like size, the Fort Dodges, the Clinton, the Tomos, Burlingtons, whatever they may be, and can't we do our own compensation study, comparing their wage scales?
And actually, we don't have to entirely do that because most cities turn their information into the Iowa League of Cities, and there is a salary survey that they do for similar types of positions. The issue that often occurs is that we've assigned over time certain jobs and duties and responsibilities to particular person that's doing a job, and so it's hard to do a comparison that's really apples to apples for a lot of these positions. Some you can. I mean, a street worker is whether they patch streets and plow snow. You know, there's probably a good chance we can match up there. But when you get into some positions, it's harder to be able to tell exactly that they're the exact same position you're comparing. So yes, you can, but I'm not sure that it's not going to be the same as what a compensation study does. The other thing that a compensation study does, my understanding, is that it looks at the types of things that are being done by a particular person, also comparing them to some of the things that are done in the private sector to the types of jobs.
Has one ever been done?
You remember? I don't know.
The last compensation study we had was an internal study when Bill Maxey was here, and that was quite some time ago, probably at least 10 years. And he basically just went out and kind of did some of the stuff Brent said, and didn't necessarily look at the positions, but he looked at, okay, they have a park director here and our park director's here, so these are where the park director should be. Now, that's good in a sense, except some park directors also were park and recreation directors. So, as Brent says, a compensation study such as we're asking for would go out and study all of this. An internal compensation study typically just says, here's a position, what's the Iowa League say everybody's getting paid, and then let's just kind of look at it and kind of build a matrix around that. So,
but face it though, we're talking about salary positions. We're not talking about hourly positions, because hourly, you already said, they're pretty comparable.
There are a lot.
And they negotiate that through their labor contracts.
Right, and that is true. There are some that would be set, even if the compensation study came back and said our laborer and street department is underpaid. Well, we're under contract, and we're not going to change that, and it wouldn't be part of the discussion until the contract renewal time came. You're right, that is true. And so, can we continue without a compensation study? Of course we can. We can do comparisons, and when I look at hiring, every time in the past when I've been hiring directors, I look at what other cities are doing, and I try to find a spot within the range that's allowed. You know, that's part of it too, is that most of our department directors are paid in one block, and that's all that I have that I'm able to do as far as where they're paid. And when different positions have been looked at, it's a narrow field, and there are times that it's difficult. There are people that will not apply because of where we're at. Others that want to apply based on where we're at. So it does affect more of the high end when it comes to salary compensation.
Brent, if you'd like, I can add to that. I believe that our last comprehensive study was completed in 1995 by Fox Lawson, and the results of that were never implemented at that time. There was an informal study at the time of our current compensation plan that was completed at the end of 2000, and our current plan was put in place in January of 2001. But again, that was that informal study that was made basically using city staff. And I believe what we're looking at is non-bargaining salary study predominantly, because we already go through the wage studies through our bargaining process today, and we have not had that opportunity on our non-bargaining staff for about the last 18 years.
Ms. Silver.
How many people are we talking about here? I mean, how many city employees do we have?
Roughly 245.
So how many salary?
covered under your umbrella that I track, there's 69. Just a point on this downtown streetlight, that is just money that would be bonded money. We actually have another 185 in the local option area. So it's actually a $1.3 million project.
I just don't see the need to spend $45,000 when I think we can maybe go outside, use Iowa League of Cities, wherever. I'm comfortable where we're at now. I just don't see spending extra. That's my opinion.
Again, the dog park fence explain the $40,000 on the next two upcoming fiscal years.
The dog park fencing is part of what the park board decided they were going to match with the overall completion of the project, and that $40,000 will basically take care of getting the fencing up in the first year on the property directly across the street from the existing water plant. And they will also be matching that with funds that they have. Last I checked, I believe they have $20,000 or $25,000 that they have raised to do that. It's kind of the park board made a decision that they want to get them started, get it done, get at least the fencing up, and then work toward fundraising other things and completing the project.
So the 40 in the first year will complete.
The 40 with what they have as a match should complete the installation of the fence in the area that's been drawn out.
Which will make it usable at that point, but they have many more improvements predicted. But we feel it's important that at least if you can get the shell, the fence around it, then we can start utilizing it as enough as it
start raising money as they
right.
go.
Yeah, it'll go much easier when they start seeing something constructed and available for them to utilize. So
We were real careful from the perspective, and Ray just showed up, but we actually were careful on that to make sure that the dog park people maintain their commitment to raising a good share of the funding, and it just didn't become a city project. So that was brought to their attention when we did it, and that's just money to get the project started. They're continuing to work very aggressively. They meet frequently. They seem to have a good plan in place, and they email a lot.
Concrete paving for the driveway at the fire department. Still, what happens if we don't do it?
we continue to look at our.
And this is another one that's been talked about for 5, 6 years.
Right, and it really is just a matter of it's a need that won't go away. It's simply something that we look at down the road if we don't do it this year. I know the chief has talked about his concerns of wear and tear on the tires, etc. that he has with his vehicles and what damage might occur. But when we look, for me, when I look at some of the other items, I feel are more important this year to look at to push off this particular project another year, based off, I think, the needs reference, the improvements that they need to make at the station with regards to the save station, the containment fill stations, the lighting upgrades, the kitchen remodel, the painting and tuck pointing and window replacement are much more important as far as the integrity of the building that we have and keeping that investment sound. I think that, and trying to also look at the amount of money that we spend in each individual department reference their needs. I'll have a different tune probably reference the replacement of the driveway next year.
Sure.
It's one that we're probably pushing it about to the number that we can. One of the things too we talked about is Bob broke it down into 3 phases. We're looking at 3 phases over about 90,000 a piece. Was that?
Roughly.
Yeah, between 90 and 95,000 a piece, and one of them was less than 90,000. So, looking at the possibility of breaking it down into smaller chunks and picking the worst to do next year and do the work next year, and that way we can have less of an impact reference the budget and still accomplish what we need to.
Is asphalting a viable option and cheaper?
Well, Chief and I have talked. Chief, my understanding is that there's concerns in rutting with the asphalt based on the weight of the equipment.
Between that and that's the pad where we test all of the hose and everything, we do it, you know, chance of damaging the hose, getting it.
The tar on
controlling product on the hose. That's not good for hose. The life of that is bad, so the concrete needs to be concrete.
So just for the purpose of some scenario, it sounds like there's a relative agreement that we move to the next meeting, considering leaving the 4 asterisks in, but shifting downtown street light replacement and HVAC, balance it off. And he'll present a scenario so we can review it at the next meeting. Does that seem reasonable to everybody? That's
Okay, so leave all the
leave the asterisks that you have in there, and then just shift over the HVAC and downtown street.
as I have right here.
Yep. Alex, Janet.
I think it'd be nice to see between now and the next meeting scenarios and the effects. Other than making a decision right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into that. I mean, we're coming back around, so this isn't.
With What I'm doing right now, Alex, is I'm kind of giving you those scenarios. I know you don't have a hard copy of it, but I'm giving you
No,
the
I
scenarios via the computer actually calculating things out.